to see will shock you. No camera tricks, no special effects. Nothing but incredible moments from the heroic to the tragic on Wild and Crazy, caught on tape, location Russia. The following incident took place during an air show in front of a large audience of aviation enthusiasts. The audience follows a jet that's shot right into the air. The plane banks to the right, and the camera picks up a group of experienced pilots demonstrating a turn. Suddenly, two of the fighter planes collide in midair. Only one of the pilots manages to eject and escape the fiery wreck. The other one literally goes down with his plane. Here it is again. Apparently, the pilots had no time to avoid the crash. They collide in midair, and almost immediately, both planes start falling to Earth side by side. Incredibly, the airshow organizers at first missed the accident and thus didn't stop the event until later. In a tall, nondescript Moscow apartment building, a fire breaks out on the 14th floor. Our cameraman here was one of the first people who noticed the fire. Being too far away to help, he was able to capture it all on tape. Trying to escape the fire, the owner of the flat fled to the balcony. He'd rushed to the stairwell first, but roaring flames had blocked his way. The horrified man presses himself up against the balcony's railing. He's hundreds of feet up, but, remarkably, help is at hand. The firemen have a new ladder that can actually reach him that high up. Good thing, too. The poor fellow is breathing pitch-black smoke and is drenched by water from the fire hose. Then again, standing next to a raging fire, that's not such a bad thing. There's no time to waste. The smoke alone is enough to kill him. Finally, the man throws himself into the fireman's arms. Shortly thereafter, the fire is finally extinguished, and the black smoke is replaced by gray steam as the firemen wrap things up and move on to the next emergency. This is footage from the opening ceremonies of a regional sports contest. The pre-game show includes paratroopers landing on the field before the actual events begin. The crowd is in a decidedly good mood, but in a few seconds, all that will change. This paratrooper makes a terrible miscalculation. He turns too late and hits the ground way too hard. Coming in at 75 miles an hour, you don't have a lot of room for error. Unfortunately, he misjudged his remaining altitude, and in the end, would pay the ultimate price. While paramedics rush to his aid, they are up against multiple life-threatening injuries. They stabilize him as best they can as the ambulance is summoned. He's sent off to the hospital, where he is operated on immediately. A medical team fought for a week to save his life, but in the end, his injuries proved too much for them, and he didn't survive. This strange bit of footage was shot in Moscow. One would imagine that this sparring couple made enough of a racket for someone to start up his camcorder. And look what he shot. The man starts abusing the woman. Perhaps he's trying to teach her who's boss. Their argument is heating up and will soon become more violent as it turns into a real street fight. Getting more and more worked up, he punches her in the face. This is her cue to go berserk and start kicking him repeatedly. Eventually, she beats him to the ground. Then she actually knocks him unconscious. Well, I think we know who's boss in that family. And this grim story took place in a town in southwest Russia. After unusually heavy rains, residents in one half of the town found themselves underwater. Buses and trucks were sent to the rescue to evacuate victims from the area. But not all the vehicles got going in time. This truck, carrying a number of storm victims, got stuck in the rising stream waters. Several other large trucks tried to come to their rescue, but none of them could get close enough. This truck weighs almost 10,000 pounds, yet in the face of this much water, the truck can be swept along like a child's bath toy. The odds of anyone swimming to safety are minimal, so most of the passengers stay with the truck to wait for help. All this time, the water level continues to rise, and the current is growing more and more intense. A rescue helicopter appears, but it's still too far away. Suddenly, the stream of water starts to flip the truck over. Most of those who managed to jump far enough away from the truck survived with some injuries. The others weren't so lucky. They were either crushed under the truck's weight or sucked under by the truck's own whirlpool. Watch these horrifying shots once again. 9 unlucky people were trapped under the heavy vehicle and lost their lives. Very grim, very sad. One would imagine there was much for the rescuers to do that fateful day, and the rescue helicopter did eventually reach them, an hour later, when it was far too late to be of any real assistance. The place is Nizhny Novgorod, Russia's 3rd largest city. The inhabitants of this apartment building called the emergency service, saying they heard muffled yells for help coming from inside the building. The rescue rangers discovered that a girl had somehow gotten stuck in the ventilation shaft around the 2nd floor. The rescuers start making their way to reach her through the reinforced concrete. It came out later that she'd fallen 60 feet down from the attic, a place she knew well. Apparently, she'd gone there many times in the past to sniff glue. Somehow, she found herself alive in total darkness, literally stuck inside the belly of the building. With great difficulty, she is eventually freed from her concrete tomb. The 14-year-old girl explained to the rescuers that she'd been thrown down the shaft by her drunken boyfriend. It's a minor miracle that she A, survived the fall, B, didn't lose consciousness, and C, managed to successfully yell for help. All in all, she spent almost 3 hours in the shaft, and besides the psychic trauma, only broke an ankle. A 14-year-old sniffing glue with a violent alcoholic boyfriend. Statistically, her chances don't look good, but with any luck, this experience might sober her up a bit. Caught on tape, location Russia. Here's some rare footage of a fireworks store on fire. With a fire like this, the idea is more to try to contain it than to extinguish it. It's a lot like when an ammunition storehouse burns, but a bit louder and far more spectacular. I must say the store is putting on quite a show. It may as well, as it will certainly be its last. We're guessing this is what a New Year's party in hell must look like. Fireworks, sparklers, Roman candles, bottle rockets, and more, all exploding in every different direction. Not surprisingly, the fire spread to the neighboring houses. The firemen were giving it their all, but they simply couldn't extinguish the fire. A helicopter supports the firemen from the sky, but the building is doomed. They can only wait till the hellish spectacle burns itself out. The store eventually morphs out of its orgy of pyrotechnics into a barren moonscape. We received this tape from the ancient city of Murom. Here, pulled by a car, a parachutist lifts off the ground and makes a flawless ascent into the late evening sky. With nothing to do, in essence, but look around and listen to the wind, it's really quite peaceful up there. Yes, it really is a beautiful evening to be up soaring along at sunset. It's so serene and beautiful and peaceful. For at least a few more seconds, anyway. It turned out that the accident was caused by a malfunction in one of the main wires that support the parachute. The chute quickly turned inside out and the intrepid flyer came hurtling down to the ground. He gets very lucky here as the inverted chute grabs some air, slowing down its velocity quite a bit right before impact. Take another look. The cameraman and the victim's family rush to the scene. No one has the slightest idea what they'll find once they get there. Amazingly, they find him no worse for wear. His impact has made a nice little hole in the soft earth, but otherwise he seems absolutely fine. It's a bit of a minor miracle considering what he's just been through. A quick check of his watch, his limbs, his sense of humor, and even his dance moves find that all are amazingly still intact. Take another look. Yes, mere moments ago he was looking death straight in the face. Seconds later, he's miraculously on the ground, unscathed. Pretty incredible. Perhaps he's out somewhere right now, maybe still celebrating his good fortune. Early one morning, a pipe burst under this Yekaterinburg auto shop's parking lot. The ensuing torrent of water softened the earth around it and above it, causing a sinkhole to form. One by one, the cars parked in the lot directly overhead started sinking into the watery hole. The shop owners fought hard to save their property and the vehicles in the lot. Workers were able to save the green SUV here, but the other car wasn't so lucky. And though the submerged cars were eventually recovered, they'd been water damaged beyond repair. Gentlemen, call your lawyers. These next few pieces illustrate the fact that given the chance to do something stupid, or preferably stupid and dangerous, people will jump at the opportunity. From really late spring skiing on grass, to biking, jumping, and performing other assorted tricks on snow. If you can name it, someone else has already hurt themselves trying to do it.